Whenever you show up as your true, genuine, authentic self, the right people are going to come into your world.
And it takes a lot to be that bigger person, but sometimes that is the only thing that can free us. Where you are on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being warrior mode on, thriving and doing amazing, and 1 being like really low, struggling kind of mindset. Where would you say you are today?
Somewhere between like a 7 and an 8.
That's beautiful. Hey, hello, everybody. We have another special episode for you today. I have with me my brand new friend, Rachel Rozen, and I want to welcome you, Rachel, to the podcast. And if you could please introduce yourself to our audience.
Awesome. Thanks so much for having me. So my name is Rachel Rozen. I am a networking coach, and I help individuals take the icky out of networking and turn it into sticky relationships. Because so many of us are told to just go network, but we just don't necessarily know how to do it. And it doesn't feel good when we're doing it. So how can we take that icky out of it and really turn it into those long-lasting relationships that we all really want to have?
I love that. I love that. Yes, networking is so important for everything we do. And I love that you take the ick out of it because it makes it so much more easier and fun. And we actually met at a networking event. So I'm thrilled to dive deeper into all the good stuff with you. Thank you again for being here. So this is a podcast about mindset. And so we dive deep into the mindset. And if that's okay with you, I'd like to begin with first asking you where you are on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being warrior mode on, thriving and doing amazing, and 1 being like really low, struggling kind of mindset. Where would you say you are today?
Somewhere between like a 7 and an 8, I'd say.
That's beautiful. So I'm guessing you weren't always at a 7 or an 8.
No, the beginning of this year is probably more like a 2 or a 3. So come a long way this year for sure.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Good for you. First of all, kudos on coming out of that 1 to 2 and landing at a 7 and 8 by the end of the year. That's amazing.
Thank you.
I'd love for you to help us take the audience through that transition of how you got from a 1 to 2 to a 7, 8. Is there an experience that brought you down to 1, 2? And if you're willing to share that, we can dive right into that.
Yeah, absolutely. So around October 7th last year was a really tough day for many Jewish people around the world. Mm-hmm. And it was that was 2023. And that was just very hard for me. And it took a lot emotionally for me to get through that. And still today, there's still 100 hostages. It's 450 plus days later from when we're recording this now. And that was affecting me, not just personally, but it was then affecting me professionally because I was having a really hard time just getting myself up and going and moving forward. So that was what really was affecting my mindset. I was feeling a lot of generational trauma, and that was kind of like the beginning of it. And then around November of last year, I was in a WhatsApp group. So I was online, and all of a sudden I started to get bullied in a way within this group. And a person that was in the group started saying nasty things to me directly. And then I tried to talk to them, and they didn't want to have a conversation. And so then I decided, okay, well, what can I do here? So I'm just going to avoid them and just keep going about my business. And then it started to get worse, and they started talking about me behind my back. Mm-hmm. And then it kept getting worse. And this is going on for months, so into the new year. And then they started saying bad things to me and about me in public forums within being online. And it just kept bringing me down worse and worse. And I reached out to different friends that were in that group just to see what I could do, because I didn't want that to happen. And I didn't feel like I was doing anything that was causing this to be the case. And so I decided, I'm just going to continue to just peel myself back and not really say anything and just be more of a listener. And I did that, but it just kept continuing. And I was talking to a lot of female friends. And then I asked a male friend, because I was like, I just need a different perspective. And he gave me really good advice. And he said, Rachel, give this person enough rope, they're going to hang themselves. And the second thing was, you don't have to explain yourself to anybody, because I kept wanting to protect myself and say, no, this isn't right. Like, this is who I am. And like, why are you talking to me in this way or about me in this way? Like, you don't even really know me. And those two things were really impactful. And I just kept holding out. And then I learned of this acronym called QTIP, which means quit taking it personally.
Yeah.
And that's when I was like having this aha moment of, this person is saying bad things about me because it's really about them. It has nothing to do with me. Yeah. They're jealous of me, of what my capabilities are. They want to have control. There's just a lot of reasons why potentially they were bullying me. And I see that more and more just in general. And I've seen more and more bullying, especially in professional forums, which is not okay, because people don't necessarily respect the other person. They just want to project onto the other person. And then eventually it got so bad that it's like, you know what, I just need to say my piece. And because it was becoming very public. And so I decided to just write a final message and just pull myself out, because I just didn't want to be participating in any way. And most people don't know what happened or the gist of it. And that's okay. But I had to do what was best for me. And I still wanted to participate in that group, but I've had to find other things where I am more valued. And I wrote a very authentic, genuine message that I felt was true to me. And it was about how, not bashing the other person, because I never want anyone to ever feel that way. But that was like the beginning of my release of what was going on. And during this time, I had really, really bad back problems. Like, there was a point where I couldn't even work because I was laying on my stomach or my back. I couldn't even sit in a chair for months. I couldn't sit in a chair, but there were weeks where I was just bedridden. And I was going to acupuncture and physical therapy, and the acupuncturist said, don't do anything except for come to me or physical therapy. Like, you just need to relax. And I realized that I was holding all of this in my back. I did still have some physical things wrong with my back and end up having to get 6 shots in my back, and I'm much better now, but it was worse or aggravated because of all the tension that I was holding in my back. So in March, when this was like I felt like it was coming to a close, I was like, you know what, I think I need to do Reiki and just see what shows up. And, or maybe it was February, March-ish. And when I did Reiki, the person that I did it with said that she was seeing a rope that was like a ship's anchor rope. So like double, like multi-knotted, very, very thick, attached to my back. And it was weighing me down. So she said, just imagine cutting that off with a sword every single night. So every night when I went to bed, that's all I thought about, was cutting off this anchor with a sword and cutting it and cutting it and cutting it. And then eventually it just started to go away. And obviously this is a mythical approach of like, this is what's happening, but it was literally weighing me down. And those two things, like the Reiki of just cutting off that anchor to my back and the Q-tip mindset idea, really helped me to say, okay, how can I push past this? This person is just like a speck in my life. Like, for whatever reason, I needed to go through this, but now I am like letting it go.
Wow. Oh my God. Thank you, first of all, for sharing this. And I'm sorry that you had to deal with all of that unpleasant and painful online bullying. It sounds really bad. And I know it's prevalent in many, many places, not just where our kids and teenagers hang out, but adults are also dealing with this all the time. So I thank you for sharing that with us. I want to unpack a little bit of that journey with you, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
I know that there are other people listening who might be feeling the same way, the same kind of despair, or just not knowing where to go from there. So, if you can share a little bit about where, or what that felt like when you were being attacked in that online forum, whether it was publicly or within the confines of a group, what did that feel like to you? What were some of the feelings that were coming up for you?
I mean, at first, I felt very helpless. One, I felt like this person doesn't know me really, and they're judging me for no
Mm,
reason and putting or prejudging me even. I mean, I definitely felt hurt, but I also started to have more anxiety around like, what am I doing? Like, are the things that I'm doing like
um,
bad? Am I not who I think that I am? Like, I was second guessing
questioning
my
yourself.
questioning myself, and I'm like, I know that I am a good person. I wasn't doing anything to hurt anybody
Yeah.
else. I never said anything bad to anybody, but I was just really, more than anything, I think, second guessing what I was saying, because this is, nothing is verbal. Everything is written. So people, the way that they read what you say, or they just interpret things, you never know what they're thinking on the other
Yeah.
side.
And it does make you second guess yourself, right? When you get attacked like that. And I think especially as women, I love that you brought up that women versus men perspective, which we'll dive into as well. But as women, we tend to, I know that immediately we tend to first to look at ourselves, right? And it's one of the reasons we grow the most as well, but also one of the reasons we beat ourselves up so much internally. So thank you again for sharing that. It's so true. How we can feel when we're attacked. It's that pain of being attacked itself, then the realization or the questioning, self-questioning, the self-doubt, all of that comes in, and that's never helpful because
Yeah.
we're going down further down that spiral. And so did you have like tools right away that you could access, or did you have to start looking for them because this was a new experience? And what were some of those tools that you ended up, using to get yourself out of that in the first place? Because I feel like that first step sometimes is so hard for people, and a lot of times when we go through a journey like this, it's hard for us to even see, oh, what was the first step? But when we look back, it's easier to say, okay, well, thankfully I had this one friend I could talk to, or thankfully I had experienced something similar before and I could tap into. So for you, what would you say is that one thing that made you go from playing the victim, so to speak, or playing, that whole self-doubt game to saying, wait a minute, it's not me. I don't think it's me. I think it's this other person that might be wrong. And how do I now move forward from this? So was there a single moment that you went like, yes, or was it multiple events?
I mean, so there are multiple things, but the first moment was this guy friend of mine that I talked to. He was the one that really just shined the light on it. Like, why are you even spending time thinking about this? Like, it's not even necessary. He had just come back from a Tony Robbins event too. And so he was like really high on
Uh-huh.
Tony Robbins and all this stuff. And I was just like, okay. But I think a lot of it is energy related too. And my energy just shifted after having that conversation with him and telling him what was going on. He was basically like, Rachel, why are you even letting this person bother you? And it's because we want to feel like we fit in. And I felt like I wasn't fitting in anymore because this person was putting such a bad stamp on my name for no reason. And I felt like I needed to protect myself. And not that I was getting like bad advice from other people that I talked to, but I think I just needed an outside perspective
Yeah.
from this person to say, hey, like this is just like, let it be.
Yeah. It's so interesting, right? I mean, I was having this conversation with someone else recently and a client of mine, and she was like, I just had this huge aha moment that I deserve to be happy. And I'm like, I must have said this to you at least 20 times. And she was like, yeah, but I just got it. Like, I just got it. And I was like, oh my God, like, this is it. Like, people get it when they get it, right?
Yeah.
The whole world could be telling you that you're amazing, but until you believe it yourself, it doesn't hit. So something that this guy friend of yours said just hit home, right? And it changed your
Yeah,
perspective forever. And it's that one perspective shift sometimes that can just release you from there. And then it's like, okay, now I know what I need to do. And then the tools start to appear, right?
exactly. And I
Yeah,
like to say people come into your life for a season, a reason, or a lifetime.
I love
And
that.
they could be here for a reason that lasts a lifetime, or they're there for a season, they come back for a reason. Like people come in and out of your life. This is something that I think I had to happen to me for me to be able to grow. Like you said, like it gives us the opportunity to
Yeah.
grow.
Yeah, that's beautiful. So, okay, so you figured out that it's not you, it's them, the other person, and now you've started to let go. What is it about acupuncture or physical therapy or Reiki that appeal to you? Because everybody's drawn to different modalities. So I want to kind of get your mindset around why that appealed.
So I've done all of those for a long time. I did physical therapy because the doctor said that I needed to, because it started with an issue with my foot that then went to my calf, or went to my ankle, that then went to my back. Like it was just
Moving up.
multiple things just kept happening. And they're physical things too, like, but also my body just this entire year has been, I think, through a lot of trauma.
Right.
And so my body's just been holding on to that. And so acupuncture helps to do release. But I did Reiki many, many years ago. And I was verbally abused by my grandfather many, many years ago. He's been gone for a long time. And I repressed that memory. And I was listening to a Oprah podcast. And this is probably like 8, 9 years ago now. And I remember exactly, I was a block from my house. I was like on my block, but like the building before my building. And this memory just came rushing back to me. And I was like, oh my God, like something's wrong. And I had this pain on my left side for so long, such a long time, like years. And literally went to every single doctor. I went from acupuncture to getting ultrasound. I mean, literally everything possible. Nobody could figure out what this pain was on the left side. And then a friend of my sister was starting to do Reiki. And so I was going to her regularly and I told her about what happened. Like this memory came back and that I'm still having this pain on the left side. And she said, well, let me look at this pain on the left side. And she said, every time you interact with somebody, you get a hook between you and that person. And the more you know that person, the deeper the hook is between you and that person. I don't know if that's Reiki or another modality, but she's like, let me remove that hook between you and your grandfather. And so when she removed that hook, I swear to God, that I got off that table and I've never had that pain in my left side ever again. And so that's why I believe that in the energy around what's happening to you. And so I was like, let me see if there's something energy related that I can do because nothing else was working. And that's when I decided to do Reiki. And I often just get a feeling of like, I need to do this thing because this thing might help. And that's when I just dive into to do it. And after that, and the other thing that happened in Reiki and this most recent time was she was like, there's all this green gunk around me. So she was just taking buckets of like this green gunk because it was like this protective shield that I was basically putting around myself so that I wasn't going to get hurt more than I already was.
That's amazing. I love all of this because this is the work I do. So this is incredible, really, because I believe in all of this. I have been through similar experiences myself. So this is really amazing. I have tried some of these therapies myself. I am an intuitive healer, so I know how this all works. And I think that if we even peel back a little bit on this experience, I would say, and I think what you were trying to say as well is that the emotional trauma led to the physical pain in your back,
Mhm.
right? To the point where it kind of like just stopped you from being able to do everything that you were doing. And it's so interesting, right? And that there's many books now written on this, that the psychological symptoms or the emotional trauma that we go through can be, can show up in our bodies. And so it's only natural that when we heal the body, we also heal the emotions, right? So I love that you have experienced this before, not for the experience, but for the growth and the learning that came out of it. Because yes, we have amazing medical doctors who can treat us, but there's also other modalities that need to be, investigated. And I tell people, explore, get curious, just
Right.
try them out and see what happens for yourself. And like you said, you have this inner knowing that says, this is what I should try. Right. And that intuition, that inner wisdom is what is always with us and guiding us. So I love that you were able to tap into that and access whatever it is that you needed to help yourself heal, because that's so beautiful. And we all have access to it. We just forget. We forget and we lose track of that. So I love, love, love that you were able to tap into that and reach out and get help, because otherwise, who knows how long this would have, sat inside of you. Okay. So you started to get the Reiki, you started to feel better. Did it immediately go away, your back pain, or like, did it take a while?
It still took a while. I mean, my final back pain went away when I got the shots, but after the Reiki, I would say it probably took 4 to 6 weeks before I felt better, still sitting in a chair, but I was often just working from the couch because it felt better to sit on a softer surface than it did on a harder surface. Although, like, physical therapy kept saying, "Oh, sit in a hard back chair," and I'm like, that is literally like the worst thing in the world for me. Like, the harder the chair, the harder it was to sit. And then I'd stand up and I'd be like a 90-year-old person. I'm like, I'm 40 years old. Like, I can't be standing like this. This is not okay. I knew that there is definitely something wrong. And I think, to your point too, really leaning into what you think is the best thing for you. You have to be the best advocate for yourself, because they only know, medical professionals only know what they know. And we think that they know everything, but they don't. They only know so much. And so you have to keep trying different things to see what's going to work. And I was doing physical therapy for a while. My back still wasn't getting better. So I went back to my general practitioner, and she said, well, you should probably go to a pain doctor. And I went to the pain doctor, and I had gotten MRIs before that. And as soon as I came into the appointment, they're like, we know exactly what's wrong with you. We know exactly what we need to do. Because basically my vertebrae was crunching down on the nerves. So I was just having shooting. I mean, luckily it wasn't down my legs. It was just in my back, but I was just having shooting pain in my back into my hips because the nerves are getting compressed. So I will have to keep getting shots. Like, this isn't going away, but I feel so much better now than I ever did before. Like, I don't have an issue sitting in a chair, or, I mean, I was still having problems like laying down or standing up or sitting down. And I still try to do things that are like not, that won't bother me as much. Like, I wear sneakers often just because it supports my back better than wearing shoes that don't. But different things that I can do that can support me. But I know that there's probably more trauma still stored in my body that I need to keep working out.
And that's the thing, right? I mean, there is so much. I always joke, I'm like, I wish that our physical doctor could sit with our therapist and an intuitive healer, and they could all talk to each other, because
Right.
then we would get such an amazing response from all of them, and we could put it all together. But intuitively, that's what you did. You reached out
Exactly.
into your intuition to tap into what you needed. You tried the medical stuff, you tried the energy stuff, and it all helped right together. You needed all of it. You didn't need one or the other. So let's go back to mindset for a second. You had that perspective shift after talking to your friend. Is there something you did differently then in terms of the way you were showing up? Or is it just like you distance yourself from the group? Because you said you were still in the group, you're still in there.
Yeah. So I distanced myself from the group. And then even when I distanced myself, all of a sudden this person was attacking me again. Like, there was like different spouts for like literally no reason that they kept attacking me. And so I'd gone through like another round of like talking to friends again and talking to my guy friends again, because he knew what the situation was. And I just needed different people's perspectives, because I wanted to make sure that I wasn't seeing things through like rose colored glasses. Like, was this really happening to me? Was I seeing this? Was I saying like, oh, I was like, I am in the wrong or I am in the right? It wasn't even about being right or wrong, but it's just more about, is this what this person is saying? Was this okay? Or was this not okay. And I just wanted to make sure that I wasn't, I was second guessing myself in a sense of like, is
Yeah.
this,
Am I right?
should,
Am I
should this
wrong?
be
What's going
happening or should
on?
this not be happening? Because you also like, I don't want to hurt anybody. I
Right.
always want to come from an angle of kindness as much as I possibly can. And we all have moments, but this was just going on for months and months. And so the second thing was really the Q-tip thing of when I realized, okay, I need to quit taking this personally because I was still taking it
Mhm.
personally.
Yeah.
And then that was like my second aha moment of like, just let this person
Be.
just be like, they
Yeah.
can say whatever they want to say.
Yeah.
And my friend said, give them enough rope, they'll hang themselves. And to an extent they did, but also they were basically talking into a void of like, everyone's like, what the hell is going on? Like some people saw, some people didn't.
Yeah.
But in a
It
WhatsApp
wasn't
chat, whatever
impacting
it is,
you.
there's always so many messages that people don't even
Right.
know what's going on
And
unless
it
it's
looks
like they're
like,
talking to you.
yeah, that's amazing. It looks like when you connected with that message of Q-tip, which by the way, coincidentally, I have a friend, a dear friend who's a parenting coach who always talks about Q-tip. And she's the only person I had ever heard say that. And she would at her workshops actually hand out a Q-tip with a bow on it. And it was
Nice.
more related to like teenage kids and dealing with
Yeah.
them. But it really does apply in every situation. But when you heard that whole that metaphor or the example of a Q-tip, it almost like gave you back control of your feelings, right? And now it's
Yeah.
not that this other person outside has the keys to your happiness or your frustration or your feeling of being hurt or betrayed or misunderstood. You took back that key, right? In that
Right.
moment, it's like, okay, I'm not giving you the power to make me feel a certain way. I am going to not take it personally. And now it takes away all of that, anger and resentment maybe that you feel towards her. And then you can kind of even maybe go into that place of sympathy or empathy and or compassion at the very least and say, okay, well, I'm just gonna give you some space and I'm just gonna distance myself and I'm just gonna let you be who you are because you're showing the world who you are by being yourself. And I'm showing the
Right.
world who I am. Right? And it takes a lot to be that bigger person. But sometimes that is the only thing that can free us from a situation that we can't control, right? Like you can't control what that other person is saying or doing. You can't control how other people in the group are reacting to them. But what you can control is taking yourself out of that. And, the other thing that I talk about a lot in this realm, this kind of example is you can also disconnect from people energetically, right? Even
Hmm.
like sometimes I have clients who are struggling with someone in their own house. And I'm like, can you energetically detach yourself from them and then notice if something shifts in the physical realm? Because we are all connected with each other's energies. And you saw that as part of your healing through Reiki, where you had other people's energies tied up into you or in your back or, your grandfather's energy. Like it was something that you held on to. And as you let go, you release yourself and you're able to, what I say, rise higher and then attract the people that you deserve and desire deeply. Right. Does that sound like the experience that you had as you were going through this?
Yeah, absolutely. And I realized more and more this year how much energy affects people in general. It's how do you bring your own energy into a room? What energies are you attracting to other people? Like how you and I met, I think it was just our energies are like, oh, we have to continue to talk. And you know that you've met somebody that you want to keep talking to based upon the energy that they're putting out. And your energy doesn't have to mean that you're the loudest person in the room. You could still be the quietest person in the room, and your energy is still being attracted. And to your point, we often take on people's energies, but we hold it longer than we realize. And that's kind of where I feel like trauma tends to come from, is that we're holding on to trauma that it may not even be our own trauma. Like what happened on October 7th is not my own trauma. Like I didn't live October 7th, but that trauma lives inside me still.
You're
And
energetically connected to it. Yeah. Yeah.
exactly.
Because of
And
your trauma,
so,
because of your history. Yeah, so for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah, for sure. Wow, there's so much. I could keep talking to you forever. And I want to point out that we actually met in a room that was, I think that had, you see all this light that's going on my face. It's so interesting. I was like, to see where it falls. I've shut the blinds and everything, but it just finds a way to land on me. So I take it as a,
Yeah, that's
but
nice. Yeah.
yeah, we met in a room full of like, I would say at least 60 to 70 people that day.
Yeah.
And the odds of us connecting were not very high. So I 100% agree that energy attracts energy, and we were meant to meet and we were supposed to be here and have this conversation because I know it's going to help somebody who's listening. So thank you. Thank you once again for sharing. Tell me, is there something that now that you've gone through this experience that has made you stronger, better, in what way? And then is there a tool that you go back to, or is there, like if something like this were to happen again, what makes you, do you know for sure that you can handle it better, and what makes you sure of that? If
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is I wouldn't let it linger as long. I don't know that I would have taken, different steps per se, other than knowing that I am my true, genuine, authentic self. And if people don't like how I'm showing up, then they're not the people that I'm supposed to be around. And that's something that is very important to me, and something that I coach other people on through networking is whenever you show up as your true, genuine, authentic self, the right people are going to come into your world. And if they're not supposed to be there, they're not supposed to be there. So there's no need to force that,
yeah,
and just let it be. And we often, I think, even because a lot of things that we deal with starts from being a young child, but we want to be friends with certain people. We want to be in the right circles or be in the right places. And now that there's social media, it's like, oh, we have to be this whoever we think we need to be. And, even as adults today, we often have that still ingrained without us realizing that little, for me, that little girl is still in there saying, oh, are you genuinely you? And I do my best to show up that way, but I know that there's still probably, I know for sure that hurt little girl still deep down inside somewhere.
yeah, yeah. Oh, so good, so good. So it's so important to honor these experiences for an opportunity for growth, right? As an opportunity for growth, because I feel like life gives us these experiences and these people in our lives sometimes to remind us of who we are. And as we start to dig deeper, we start to realize that, hey, wait a minute, I don't deserve this. I deserve better. And I need to fight for this, or I need to speak up, or I need to, at the very least, be honoring it for myself inside my own mind first, right? Let alone go out and say something. But when you are sure, like you said, of yourself inside out, you are okay with your most authentic self. I call it the peel, feel, heal, where we peel the layers, feel the emotions that come up, and then heal from that so that we know for sure who we are. And then we put that out there. And I always say, well, now we have a thumbs up on the screen. I always say that, same thing, what you said about authenticity, but I think that comes from releasing all of this baggage that we're holding on to. And as we release it, we get lighter. Literally, our energy rises, right? And then we start to attract the people, places, and experiences that we want. So I think there's so much to learn from your journey, and so much to learn from the pain that you experienced and the healing that you experienced through this journey. And I hope that this inspires everyone who's listening to dig a little deeper into their own mindset and understand themselves a little better, and then welcome these experiences sometimes, even though they're difficult, to see them as an opportunity for growth and evolution. So, Rachel, thank you once again for sharing your experience. What would be one thing that you can leave our guests with, in order to deal with difficult times if they're dealing with something right now?
I mean, I think the main theme of what came out of this today is really trust in yourself. Allow yourself to sit, meditate. I didn't mention it, but I did a lot of meditating. I generally meditate almost every day, but just allowing myself to feel what I needed to feel. And it came at different moments. It wasn't like it always came immediately. There wasn't always like an immediate thing, but over time, it allowed me to say, okay, let me try something else. So this might be the moment that I need to do something different because we all go through things in our life that are going to affect us, and we're all going to heal in different ways. But it's worth trying things that we haven't tried before because we never know what's going to help.
I love it. So tap into your village that is outside and tap into your intuition. And both of those will set you free. Awesome. Thank you again. Tell us where people can find you. And we will share all your information in the show notes if you have something that you would like to share with them before you leave.
Awesome. Yeah. The best place to find me is on LinkedIn. If you're like networking or unsure how to network, I do a free webinar once a month. So always happy to have people come and join that and learn how to get better at how do you meet those people? How do you take that icky out of it and really start building those sticky relationships and finding the people that are going to come into your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime.
So beautiful. Thank you once again.
Thank you.